Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to a very special edition pre-game talks with the Boston Celtics facing Miami Heat in Game 1. We are coming in clutch. Good evening. I am your host, Nelson, and to my right, your left is Colby. And we are usually on Monday nights from 6:30 to 7:30, and we had our special few weeks from 7 to 8. But today, due to some technical difficulties with internet beyond our control, we had to start much later, and we're having a 30-minute special down and dirty pregame talks leading in to Game 1 with your Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals facing the number one seeded team, the Miami Heat. And Colby, we're off.
We're off.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm all right.
I am extremely thrilled about doing a special kind of show.
Yeah, me too. It's different. Different kind of show.
A different kind of show. It's sort of like bleeding into what is going to happen tonight, which is the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. And your Boston Celtics, my Boston Celtics, our Boston Celtics took care of business against the world champion, defending champions, with arguably the best real player in the world.
Yep.
And Giannis, who had broken the record of 200 points, 100 assists, and 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in a series. Truly remarkable stats. Unfortunately, he is now home. And the reason why he is home, folks, it is because the game of basketball, as much as you may think it is an isolation type of game, with just hitting a bunch of threes, I will tell you that the three ball is relevant. But ball movement is also relevant.
And it also shows that injuries do have an effect in a series.
Especially in the NBA, where you have 5 players on the court on your team. And a player going down, you lose 20% of what that player can do for you.
Correct.
Minimally. So your Celtics won by basically making sure that Milwaukee was going to run out of gas at some point. They had runs after runs after runs when the Celtics would go up. And as they took a run, the Celtics would, most of the time, Cope, find a way to reinvent themselves and make a push and stop the bleeding. And Ime did a tremendous job in timeout management, which is something that's grossly overlooked and grossly not paid attention. And it resulted in the Celtics just doing a great job in having to reset themselves. And they were just a deeper team. We had talked about this. I never thought it was going to be a sweep, but I felt good about the Celtics' depth.
Well, I was going to say, I was very, I don't know what the word I want to use. What was it? Game 5.
Yep.
Was that Thursday night? I believe it was last Thursday, right?
Yes.
Wednesday?
Wednesday?
Wednesday. So I can tell you, going into work the next day, I was kind of down. I mean, I didn't think the series was over with the Bucks up 3-2, but, you know, I was just kind of hurt because I wasn't ready to see the Celtics team just
ended here.
It
didn't seem right. It didn't sound right.
Listen, the team's been playing way too good together for them to for the season to be over. And I was going to say it was really good to see them in Milwaukee, like really turn it up. Jason Tatum, what a game he had.
Tremendous.
Game 6, man.
And that kind of game is what starts to solidify and starts separating you from good and great.
Correct. And he, you know, and I was nervous because years past, it's like, is Tatum going to show up? Is Brown going to show up? What were we going to see in this game? And Tatum, to me, proved that he's ready to be a superstar in this league.
I think so too, and I think he has done quite a bit in his game to put himself in the top 5 talks in the NBA. He's 24, 23. Still a lot to develop there. And I felt that with Milwaukee, with Middleton going down, their bench between Cottington and Allen. I know Brook Lopez had a couple of really good games, but he had I know, 34 years old, but he had a couple of good games and he had a bunch of no good games. They just didn't have enough. And the Drew Holiday, Giannis and Middleton is a good trio.
Well, you know, going back to Lopez, I don't know if he really fits that Bucks team Because if you think about that Bucks team, they want to push it. They got a lot of shooters on that team. And Brook Lopez is kind of like that log that just is kind of there.
And when he doesn't move well.
No, he's not very athletic anymore.
No, really he's not. And he does a decent shot block if you go into the rim. Kind of what happened, I think it was either Marcus or Grant Williams, and he happened to just be there and swat him away.
Yeah.
That was a pretty easy swat.
I was going to say, if it's easy,
very easy block.
Easy, of course he's going to get it.
So, but he's washed up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's washed up to a certain degree. And yes, the Al Horford, who is the only Al Horford, according to the local media, took care of Giannis a lot in the series.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was always perfect. It was always pretty. But Al Horford has been a tremendous player all year. Another situational awareness where his presence makes Giannis think twice about what he wants to do.
Well, I was just going to say, listen, if you think the game plan was to stop Giannis, it wasn't. Giannis was going to get his points no matter what. No matter what. And it was going to come down to who wanted it more in this series. And frankly, Giannis ran out of gas game 7. You could see it. He came out guns blazing the first quarter, and after that team was just deflated. Man.
9 minutes and 32 seconds left in the fourth quarter. There was a play where Giannis got beat by Grant Williams, and it was a very lazy foul where the hands are on the knees, a similar gesture that we had seen with Kevin Durant, as well as Drew Holiday coming out of timeouts.
Yes.
And I had said, this is over.
Yes.
And the reason why it's over is because defending and playing against a good defensive team just simply wears you out as a player.
And it was a very physical series, man.
It really was. And could it have gone either way? Sure, it could have. Do I think Milwaukee is a legitimate team? Yes, of course they're a legitimate team as long as Giannis is there, and their coach has done a good job, you know, with managing players and finding their players who are hot and cold. I just think the Celtics right now have a better core, have as good a coaching, if not possibly better.
Of course.
And they showed why they were the best team in the second half of the season. So they win. I think that they deserve to win. They made plays. Players came up big when they had to. Yes, Grant Williams has continued to be the Grant Williams that we have seen. And boy, did he pick a heck of a game to do it.
Don't get me started on Grant Williams because we've had this conversation multiple times. And especially last season, I was calling for that guy to not even get any minutes. I didn't know what the hell he was doing out in the court. I don't even think he knew what the hell he was doing in the court.
Right.
And listen, I give him a lot of credit. He's definitely worked on his game. You can see it. You can see it.
Something happened with him some point this year, maybe in the offseason.
Yeah.
I don't think it was easy to see at the beginning of the season because the team did not work and play well when the season started.
Nobody
right?
played well.
So collectively, it was hard to make a gauge on where his game was going from last year to this year. He's a Celtics pick, 22nd overall, and maybe it's one of those blooming players that winds up being a steal for that reasoning. That's what we need him to do at this point. At this junction of the game, that's what he needs to be. A guy that comes off the bench, much like Pritchard, to be able to hit the shots and be a sniper and continue to ratchet the defense. And I think, once again, the Celtics are going to give Miami a tough time as well.
Yeah, but I think, again, the series is going to come down to, I think the Celtics are going to go as good as Grant Williams, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard go. Those are the 3 key guys for me because Tatum and Brown are going to do what they do. Smart's going to do what he does. Horford, Robert Williams. But Grant, to me, as good as he played, he could have a bad game. He could have a couple bad games.
Could.
So it depends on those 3 guys to step up.
And I think this season, and Derek Williams desperately needs a reset.
Listen,
he needs
a confidence booster, man.
He needs a series reset. And hopefully he can find himself because now we're going on to the 3rd series.
Yes.
And he has not showed up yet.
Yeah.
He had some moments when he got 9 to 10 points, some assists, and that's such.
But I'm not even looking for him to do that. If he can just play defense like everyone kept telling me or shoving down my throat when he got traded here, how great of a defender he is. Yep. That's all I want to see. Just go out there and play defense, man. Because defense is going to win games.
It will. So here's what I want to see in this series. So tonight, game 1 in Miami, correct?
Correct. First 2 games.
First 2 games are in Miami. Like anything else, this is nothing new we're going to tell you folks. It's going to be a series where for the first two games, the Celtics have to split. You gotta take one out of there and be split. That must happen. Number one. Number two, Brown's handles need to be extremely better than what I have seen so far. The ball handling and the turnovers must be stopped.
You're right.
Because though I don't think, I know, in my opinion, they do not have a Giannis, they do not have a KD, they do have some players that are a bit better disciplined, maybe on defense, or at the very least, more players who buy in consistently on defense. I know Milwaukee was known for protecting the rim, but the perimeter defending is not good.
Yeah, they kept think about it. They dared the Celtics to shoot all the threes.
I don't know if Miami will do that, and I think there's enough film now for their coach, who I have respect for. I think the Miami coach has shown that he can play. A role to take a team that doesn't have LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, and take them into being competitive. And Miami has been competitive. And Miami has also been going under the radar and enjoying saying, hey, we're the number one team, and no one's really talking about this. And I think Jimmy Butler likes that, and that concerns me.
Well, don't forget who the president of the Heat is.
Pat Riley. Yeah. So I am not taking Miami lightly. I saw them play the Celtics the very first game that Robert Williams went out. That was the first game that didn't have Robert Williams.
It's a close game, too. I believe the Miami just squeaked that out, right?
And they squeaked that game out. I went to go see that game live. So I do think that the Celtics can win the series. I think what I hope is that home court may not play as big of a role as it has in the NBA in the past. Because last series, it could have gone either way. Neither team was spectacular at home, with the exception of maybe Game 7.
Well, I did hear today that the Miami Heat have a really good home record, where the Celtics have a really good away record.
So that could play big dividends for us.
Correct.
So Game 1 is coming up here soon, folks. And I feel that Game 1, the Celtics can win.
Well, it's going to be tough.
Even though without Marcus.
Well, and Horford.
Okay.
Horford's in safety protocols for COVID.
Okay. Well,
which is another thing, which kind of aggravates me. It's the NBA, okay? We've been in this for 2.5 years now, this pandemic, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to tell me now's the time to put him in health and safety protocols?
It's very odd.
Especially if the whole team's vaccinated like they say they are. Like,
look at
Charlie McAvoy for the Bruins. He was in health and safety protocols. He missed one game or one day, and he was back the next day. So maybe we should get that doctor. Can that doctor come in and work for the season?
Right, and work, and figure that out, because we need at least Al Horford there. I wasn't aware of Al Horford until you just told me.
Yeah, Horford's out.
That might have come out.
Who knows how many games he's going to be out if this is serious?
Well, so what that tells me is that the Celtics obviously have a bigger challenge they have to face. Yeah. Other players like Daniel Tice, maybe it's time Lord's time.
Well, I just hope he's healthy, man. This is what makes me nervous, because he was available to play Game 7. He didn't play 1 minute.
And I'm kind of glad he didn't, because at the end, they really didn't need him.
Yeah, but my concern is, what's the reason why he didn't play him? Because in the beginning of that game, it didn't look like it was going to go the Celtics' way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also think it was early. And I think saving him, I don't know. I think Ime felt that if there was a run at some point, he knows players.
Yeah.
And I think he sees body language more than we do. And he sensed that if they got a lead, which they were able to get a lead at halftime, at the end of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, that using him was not necessary. He probably will go today. Tonight.
He has no minute restriction tonight.
So I think him and Daniel Tice combination needs to be the guys.
Think Grant Williams needs to step up in that.
I also think this. I also think that Bam Adebayo is not going to be more complicated to defend, I don't think, than Giannis. KD and Giannis. Yeah. So there's a lot of talks about Bam and what Bam provides to that team. I think he's a good, solid, hardworking player, blue-nose, blue-collar player. Of course. Grinding player, right?
He's definitely an all-star.
Yeah, he definitely is. However, I do think that the Celtics defense can frustrate him, and I think Butler can have his games of not hitting anything.
Correct.
And Lowry is also out, and they also haven't played a game in quite some time.
Yeah.
So with that rhythm, this can really go either way. I will tell you that if Horford was playing, I knew about Marcus, but if Horford was playing, I felt good about the Celtics because of the momentum they just had, because they just came out of a tremendous bruising series. Miami did not have a series like that.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's series was very attainable. Who did they face? Chicago? No, it was
So Miami face Philly last round.
Philly.
But they had the Hawks in the first round. So they haven't had
Right.
the hardest.
And right. In Philly, with Doc Rivers, we already knew that probably wasn't going to go very well.
Doc always chokes.
Right. And Joel Embiid is a great player. We know that. But everyone else around them has issues. So I do think the two teams that are in the Eastern Conference Finals are the two deserving teams.
Correct. I think they're the two best.
I also think the winner of this one will be the NBA champion. I am not 100% convinced between Dallas now. It's Dallas and
Golden State.
Golden State. I know Golden State has the history, but I am watching Golden State and watching West Coast basketball. There's a lot of loosey-goosey, sloppy basketball being played. And even with the Dallas Mavericks sticking it to Phoenix, they had moments where if Luka Doncic doesn't have the game that he's supposed to have, they lose that game, and he wound up going lights out. So you have to be able to defend that guy. In other words, if the Celtics get through the series, they had faced some adversaries with some of the best players so far. The players that are left are not better than the players that they have faced, according to what's been told by the NBA experts.
Yeah, I mean, you got Steph Curry.
Curry's still a very good player. He's also in his back. He's also, getting up there in a lot of mileage. But is he better than KD?
No.
Is he better than Giannis?
No, but what's funny is, I know people are making a big deal about Golden State, but this team's not the same when they had KD, man. KD made that team what Golden State was. As much as I didn't like him going to Golden State and copping out, but with him on that team, with Curry, Thompson, and Draymond, that's a totally different team.
Right. And Draymond is still a player that brings energy.
Of course.
That brings a lot of physicality. The Celtics are not afraid to play with physicality. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Right.
I just want to simply state, with this series tonight, it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics respond without two players who have been very critical.
Yep. This is what I'm saying. The next guys up need to step up. Let's see what they can do.
And I am concerned about, Hero and Robinson have their moments of sniper shooting.
Robinson's only playing 10, 11 minutes a game.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And Tyler Hero's coming off the bench. I know he was a sixth man of the year, but he hasn't been shooting it well in the playoffs.
And I really think if you bring it to Miami, the intensity that you brought to against Milwaukee Bucks, specific against Giannis, the question is this: does Miami have enough resilience to be able to fight and battle through the feisty, tenacious, physical, aggravating, and annoying defense that the Celtics provide?
Correct.
That is what I want to see.
Me too. I do. I'm very curious to see this.
So my prediction, I'm going to take the Celtics. I'm still going to take the Celtics tonight. Get ahead. I believe in teams trying to win the odd games. Odd numbered games, 1, 3, 5, 7. And tonight they're away. And if they can take one tonight, game 2, well, the pressure is automatically put on Miami. And that's how you start knocking out a previous champ or a previous team. And the Celtics should have plenty of ammunition to want to go after Miami after what happened in the bubble, after what's happened last year. Just in general, Miami's kind of had their number. And I'm just wondering if that now changes, because the mindset and the game style of game that the Celtics play maybe, just maybe, gets them over the hump.
Listen, I hope so. I mean, especially for Tatum and Brown's legacy. I mean, do you want to be known as the two guys that led your team to 4 Eastern Conference finals but never got over the hump?
And it's a good point that you bring up about the 4 out of 6 years. There's been so much criticism since the Jays have come in. And again, the impatience level that some folks have in this town. Getting to the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA is not an easy task.
No, it isn't.
And to get there 4 out of 6 years, that's about 80%.
I mean, think about it, especially the way the Celtics got there this year. They had to go against a Brooklyn team that everyone said was still going to kick their ass. Celtics swept them. They had to go against a Milwaukee team who's the defending champions with, like you said, probably the greatest player on the planet right now. Sorry, LeBron, but Giannis is the greatest player on the planet right now. And now they're going to go up against a team with, that doesn't have the huge star power like the teams they face, but Jimmy Butler's a pretty good player.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler is a much respectable player, and I have a lot of respect for what Jimmy Butler does. He has gotten better with age, which is amazing. Yeah. He has changed his mindset. He changed his philosophy. He changed everything about him, and he is a winner. I am not going to deny that. Is he going to have, is he going to have enough energy over the course of 7 games, over the course of the series, when maybe Bam Adebayo has a bad shooting night? or he gets to foul trouble. We'll see.
Well, they can't let Jimmy Butler get in their heads.
That's the problem.
That's what Jimmy Butler does best, and the Celtics have done a good job of avoiding that.
Is it safe to say that Spoelstra is the best opposing coach that the Celtics will be facing so far? I
don't know. Budenholzer is a pretty good coach, man.
He is. I have respect for him. I still think, push come to shove, I still think I would take a Spoelstra over him.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. Who was it that we faced? Who's on that head coach?
Steve Nash. Okay. Yeah.
Steve Sachs. Steve sucks.
Yeah. Steve sucks. So, I know it's a special, again, pregame for the Celtics. Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics are in the Eastern Conference. Top 4 teams, well-deserved. They were the better team. There was a lot of refereeing issues going on throughout the series as well. Hopefully that can get cleaned up.
It needs to. The NBA in a whole, for both series, they need to clean it up, man.
It would be amazing to have the Celtics split, win both games at home, and be up 3-1 going back to Miami.
You know why I say this is a crucial year? Like, think about this. Celtics are still young. All right, so I'm bringing up the Miami Heat roster right now. So obviously, Adebayo was 24. He's young. But I didn't realize Jimmy Butler was 32.
I was going to say 31, but 30. Yeah, he's over 30
All
for
right,
sure.
He's 32. Dwayne Dedman, 32. Udonis Haslem, which I don't even know why he's on the roster, 41. Okay, Tyler Hero's 22. We know that. Lowry, 36.
Yep.
Markieff Morris, 32.
A lot of mileage.
Victor Oladipo, 30 years old. A lot of injuries on that guy. Duncan Robinson, 28. PJ Tucker, 37. So I guess my point is the Heat don't have a lot of years left with this team.
Right. And it was something that I was going to discuss, due to the technical difficulties, we weren't able to get into it. As a Celtics fan or a basketball fan of liking the next up-and-coming chapters, we talked about the NFL, how we have all these superstardom coming up, with, Josh Allen and Herbert and Pat Mahomes and the plethora of players that are young up-and-coming, Joe Burrow. The Celtics are that version. They have mostly young players. If you look at their roster, Al Horford taking them aside, the average age is probably 26.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
27. So you have the Milwaukee Bucks, who are a little bit younger than Miami, but they have a ton of players over 30. The Miami Heat have been building up this experienced team. That chapter is also going to start dwindling as well.
Yep.
The Golden State Warriors chapter is going to start fizzling. The Phoenix Suns have already arrived of them being fizzled.
I just looked it up real fast. So obviously, besides Horford, the only other player in his 30s is Tyson. Tyson's 30.
Okay. So the Celtics have a tremendous future.
Everybody averaging 22, 24, 25, 26.
If they keep this core together and you look around the league, you're going to see that pound for pound, the Celtics might be the team that can start a new era of maybe winning multiple championships. I think they should have the pedigree. I think the Jays have now gotten along. The Jays now seem to have more of a brotherhood that they didn't have, and that sometimes takes time. I always wanted the Jays, Colby, to have the Bird McHale magic.
Yeah, of course, everybody does. Everybody did.
And Antoine Walker was supposed to be that with Pierce. I think there was moments of that, but it wasn't ever truly going to be the case because Antoine Walker, I don't think, wound up taking the game serious at some point. So the Celtics are in a great position. Now, I'm not telling you I want there to be an excuse for them to just blow it this year because you have a tremendous opportunity in a very difficult league to win a world championship. Take advantage, of course, because you're not sure when you're going to get here. But what I can say is the Celtics pedigree has been that 80% of the time, 4 out of the last 6 years, they have been able to get into the Eastern Conference Finals, which tells me that they get into enough of a run and have had enough skill set to be able to get there. And the Jays have been part of that for a long time. So the Celtics are not going to have an easy laying down, but if they play this kind of basketball, this kind of basketball gives you a better chance of winning those tough games.
Well, we have someone chiming in here.
Sure.
Barry Serpa here.
Yeah, Barry.
In this day and age doesn't matter. The cap does.
I disagree. I disagree to a certain degree because basketball is a high. If you've played the game of basketball, Barry, and I think you have, the game of basketball is predicated on mileage on the player. It's predicated on the amount of experience that you've had And if that mileage gets to a certain point where it will run out, cap is important, but there is a cap in the NBA. So my question to you is, then why are the LA Lakers not in? You have LeBron James. You have Anthony Davis is relatively young.
Russell Westbrook,
right? So if he's trying to tell me that age, that the cap, he's saying the cap is more important to.
Yeah, because he's saying next season the Celtics are $16 million over the cap.
Okay, so if we're talking about cap management, okay, so cap management obviously is important in the NBA. I don't think it's as essential as obviously it's much more in depth the NFL is, but it's not. I'm not sure if it's quite as intense as the NHL. I think them being over the cap. That means that some players are going to have to be removed, and I'm wondering what those players are. Is it Al Horford?
Well, Al Horford's he goes from what, making $28 million to $12 million next year.
So you save 12, you save $16 million right there.
Yeah, but see, the other thing that I have an issue with this too is how come we're not talking about the years Golden State won the championships? They had to pay Kevin Durant, they had to pay Steph Curry, they had to pay Klay Thompson, they had to pay Draymond Green.
I think,
and I remember them being over the cap, and I remember Golden State had to pay the luxury. So, and I think Wick Grousbeck is the type of owner who doesn't give a shit about that.
I don't think he cares either.
And he's going to pay it. If his team's going to be relevant, the team's going to win the championship, he's going to pay it.
I think when you're looking at, we're talking about two different topics. I'm talking about the fact of pound for pound, talent for talent. The Celtics are in a better place than those other teams.
Yes. I know what you're saying.
That's what I'm referring to. If Barry's talking about the cap, that's a different topic. We're talking about dollars and cents and financial management of a team and how you are managing your team and keeping assets that make sense, like having a Crowder for a long time. That was a very user-friendly deal. At this point in this time, I'm talking about this series this year, and the Celtics are in the best position. I think they have the best team left. I think that they're the deepest team. If every player plays to its potential, pound for pound, the Celtics, in my opinion, have the best, most complete team left of the four teams. Next year, it's up to Wick to look at the players. There are players who come and go all the time. So if you're telling me that I can keep Tatum, Brown, Marcus, Grant, and Time Lord, and maybe Tice, and I might have to move on from Al Horford and move on from other pieces, I don't know who's up against getting a contract. I think a lot of these contracts have been solidified. So there's restructuring that also happens in the NBA.
Yeah, but there's also tradable. We have tradable contracts on this team now, which we didn't have before.
There's very attractive commodities right now, especially when you're in a championship. So we're just simply talking about the fact of age and roster. The Miami Heat have an older roster. That besides Bam Adebayo, the team is an older team.
Yeah, in Tyler Hero.
Yeah, in Tyler Hero. They have a lot of mileage and a lot of teams, a lot of players who have been in these battles.
Well, think about it. PJ Tucker was 37 years old. He's averaging 33 minutes a game, man.
That's a ton of minutes.
How many miles that guy got left?
Yeah. So certainly the topic of the cap will be brought up. I think with the NBA, there's ways to circumvent that, and LeBron James has proven that. Everywhere he's gone, LeBron's gotten what he's gotten, and he's gotten players that he really wanted to solidify things. So the cap has always been there in the NBA for the most part. So, but it's a good topic, Barry. And I appreciate you chiming in as always. But I will say that from a perspective of winning and losing, at this point, the cap is irrelevant. Now, if we're talking about the future, yeah, I think what he's referring to is he probably caught the tail end of me saying that the Celtics have a future comparative to some of the other young teams.
But I know what you were getting at.
I was talking more short term mostly, but now going long term, the Celtics, I still think I'm in a good position if they can solidify the two core pieces.
Yeah.
If they can, even if Robert Williams can be somewhat of a rim defender, and you keep both Tatum and Brown, that's always going to be, I think, a respectable starting point.
And this is why you have to win the championship this year. You win the championship this year, you're going to get veterans who aren't going to ask for a lot of money, who are going to want to play with these guys.
And I think Ime,
and that's how you build your team.
Ime winning one this year,
his first year as a head coach,
is going to attract players. We talked about Ime's personality, how he carries himself, how he relates to players of today's NBA.
And he played in the league, which a lot of people respect.
So I think things can be taken care of. You know why? And for Barry, for those who are chiming in, there's one thing that I always believed in sports that makes every other technicality, and financial constraint go away. You know what that is?
What's that?
Winning.
Yeah.
If you win and you're a champion, people want to win. Players want to win. The Rams have proven that. They did it last year. The Carolina Hurricanes in hockey have also proven that. The Tampa Bay Lightning have proven that.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
And to a certain degree, so did the Golden State Warriors. So if they have a winning pedigree in Boston land, they will find and attract players, and especially having a coach who they can relate. Because you want to know who the number one recruiting element tool is in the NBA?
What's that?
Players themselves.
They're always talking.
They're always chirping because they cannot control themselves.
Listen, and
do you really think if Jason Tatum was a world championship this year, that he really is going to have a tough time convincing Beal to come here?
no, and I was just going to say that. I don't know why people aren't talking about this, but I'll probably put money on this that Bradley Beal is a Celtic next year.
Bradley Beal is on a losing franchise.
Has been his whole career.
And he is a guy that if you add to this piece, even if you get rid of 4 players, I'm going to throw them out there. Marcus, Al Horford, Tice, and Pritchard. And you get Bradley Beal, and you pay him close to max contract. What that player can provide with those 3 other players, especially if they come out of this on the end as a winning championship team and put up banner number 18. You could find veterans who just may be disgruntled, because you want to know what players look for besides winning. Also, the psyche of the game is critical. And if you're in a situation where your psyche is in a good place in a winning culture, if you go back and look at the 2008 World Championship Boston Celtics with Eddie House, who have been bouncing around 9 different teams in 11 years, they even brought back P.J. Brown.
That's right.
Who was, I think, wearing D. Brown's sneakers with Reebok pumps. He hit some big boy jumpers when it mattered. I like him too. Players come to winning cultures.
Yeah.
And Garnett came here because there was some tampering going on with him and Paul Pierce. And he was sick and tired of losing in a team, in a franchise that to this day still is a losing team. So here's my other question, if we want to really ruffle feathers. If Tatum were to get traded right now, straight up, who do you take? And I talked about this off. There's 3 teams. There's 3 players that probably come up. Anthony Towns, Giannis,
Luka.
Other than that, thanks but no thanks. So we're up against it. A special pregame.
Real fast, because I know I want to say, I would even throw Grant Williams in there. Sell high in Grant Williams right now.
I would too. And I might, I might stick around with Pritchard because I think he has probably the best handle.
If you can get some assets for Grant Williams, the way he's been playing, you sell high.
I think so too. So, folks, we are up against it. Thank you for chiming in if you did. I appreciate you. Thank you, Barry. Hopefully we'll meet together in reality. Maybe we'll just bring you in.
Yeah.
And maybe we could talk hoop. So that's all we have time for today, for this evening. Hope you're getting ready to check out game 1. Hopefully the Celtics can come out on top tonight and be able to put pressure immediately on the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. By the way, the number 1 seed, the Celtics have been number 1 in the past, and they didn't quite get there. So,
listen, I got the Celtics winning the series, 7 games.
There we go.
I'm not scared of them happen to play game 7 in Miami.
So that's kind of where I'm at too. I think it's going to be a 7-game series. So that's all we have time for, and we want to be able to thank some of our sponsors. So with me, it's obviously going to be Core Nutrition on 25 Market Street in Swansea. Those delicious shakes, those amazing herbal teas, hot teas, cold teas, shakes of all variety, keto specials, the ones that I like the most,
Herbalife.
And some fun stuff if you want, where the kids can have things without the caffeines and all that, and their fun drinks. Great staff, super clean place, in a place that has pride, Celtic pride. But they are a wonderful staff there, and go check them out. It's a great way to get those great right calories in you and keep moving about your day.
And also our newest sponsor, JR & Sons Construction.
Welcome, JR.
Out of Westport, Mass. He specializes in asphalt paving, and he goes by the motto of, we don't cut corners, we pave them. and we will definitely get the job done. Dave does a hell of a job, like I said last week. And so if you're looking for any asphalt work, I'll be at a parking lot, driveway, pretty much anything, walkway, sidewalks. Give him a call at 508-636-3242.
And there you have it, folks, on a special pregame, game 1 tonight, Eastern Conference NBA Finals, Celtics, Miami Heat. I got them going winning tonight, taking game 1. And that's all we have time for. We will be back next week, our normal time,
Monday
6:30 to 7:30 on Monday nights, of course, on the Eric B Media platform. And we are coming in clutch. Have a great night. Stay safe. I'm Nelly.
I'm Colby.
And we are out.